Ryu versus Lucius, a battle with the fate of humanity on the line that has been fought in the background between these two, not only on this day, but since way before the story even began, and even way before one of them was even aware of the other. This chapter has changed so much about my perspective on these two characters and this war as a whole, so much so that it's leading me to wonder who has really been the one pulling the strings behind this fateful day. The eldest of the Zograta siblings, or the Shogun of Hino. For me personally, that's a big topic of this chapter, but we got a lot to cover before we get to any of that. First up, gotta say, it is so great to finally be back. I know it was only about a 3 to 4 month wait between chapters, something that the Hunter x Hunter community would love to be their situation, given how they're usually stuck waiting multiple years for their next batch of chapters due to the author's health conditions. A situation we also could have very much found ourselves in if Tabata and Shueisha didn't work out this move to Giga before it was too late. Which I know makes us extremely lucky in that regard, but dude, it still kills me each time I finish reading the latest chapter, only to be hit with the reality that I won't be able to see what happens next for another couple of months. But at the same time, while I know that the wait kills the excitement some fans have for the series, for me, the lead up to when we know the next batch is coming is always the most hype I get about any new manga chapters. And speaking of, this chapter builds up off the excitement from the last one as we get all the supporting characters we saw helping protect Asta channel our excitement over his return from near death in the opening of this one. And hey, the very first person we see welcoming him back to the land of the living is Leo. He even jumps in to help Asta finish off the angels he one-shotted last time by consuming them in pillars of flame. And it really seems like Tabata's trying to make up for the lack of screen time he's given this character these past two sagas by sprinkling him in here and giving him the bigger moments amongst the supporting cast. Which makes a part of me wonder if it's because Tabata has seen all of the outcry amongst fans online about how he's been missing since like halfway through the Space Saga. Like seriously, up until the last batch of chapters, I saw a new post about how he hasn't shown up yet on like a weekly basis. And it seems like Tabata wanted to throw them a bone here in the final saga, which honestly I think is pretty cool. Not to hold Tabata seeing the outcry part, because honestly I doubt that's what happened, unless there's a big Leo fandom over in Japan and they were also constantly posting about his absence. No, what I like is that someone like him, who realistically doesn't have much relevance to the story, or really any relevance at all, has such a devoted and outspoken fanbase. It really goes to show just how well of a job Tabata has done to give all the side characters enough time to shine in the spotlight in order for them to become fan favorites. Hell, a friend of mine who recently got into the Black Clover anime told me that Gordon was one of his favorite characters despite up until the point where the anime ends, him not really having much relevance. So yeah, it just kind of goes to show that in this series specifically, you can't really count out any character being a fan favorite. But getting back to the chapter, now that Asta's back up, he's ready to jump right back into the action and go help Hino out in the battle against the big bad Lucius. Liebe, on the other hand, not so much. He is still very visibly shaken by the reveal that Lucius revived Licitia and used her as a meat shield in order to get a solid hit on the devil siblings. And really, this isn't a surprise for any of us. We knew that addressing his mental state over this issue was going to be a plot point we had to tackle in order to move forward. Many of us even correctly predicted that the revived Licitia wasn't just an illusion or clone created for that one moment, but also a paladin he kept in his back pocket as a trump card. But what we didn't predict is just how fast this plot point would be addressed. Because okay, I knew given the pacing we've had since the move over to Jump Giga that it was likely this whole thing with Liebe would be handled in a single chapter. Personally, I was hoping for 2 or 3 just to make sure we really flesh out the drama revolving it, but I expected 1. What I didn't expect, however, is for it to be relegated to only about a third of this chapter's pages, and honestly, that's being generous. Because skipping ahead a bit, after we get the scene of him and Asta at the start of the chapter where we see that he's still emotionally torn up about the reveal, we don't touch on the topic again until they rejoin the battle against Lucius and are once again face to face with Licitia, who has gone full paladin now. And from that moment, all it took was 2 pages. That's it. Plot point done. Somehow, in between the beginning of this chapter and page 21, while we had to cut away from the storyline for a bit, Liebe was able to overcome his mental and emotional hangups over their mom being a paladin, enough so that there's no real hesitation in the two taking her down in a single slash. And I think what disappoints me the most is that we didn't even get a true heart-to-heart between the brothers about this, because that is such a staple of Asta's character. He's able to almost see into the hearts and souls of those he connects with and guide them through the darkness that's enveloping them back into the light. A prime example of this is back during the Elf Saga when he helped Patry overcome his transformation into a Dark Elf. And let's not forget the big moment that led to the two finally achieving their true devil union during the big battle against Lucifero in the Spade Saga. Asta is so good at these kind of moments that sometimes I think if he didn't have his mutation, that he was intended to have some kind of mix between Marx's memory magic and Lucius's soul magic that would have let him actually peek into a person's soul and see their true selves. Which, even without that magic, is basically what he did in those two examples I just gave, so us not getting that kind of scene here from him is a total letdown. Even worse, the most we get from Asta as a way to inspire his brother to overcome his hangup is him saying, "Hey, shake it off." This is the unfortunate part of rushing towards the ending, which, while I haven't at this time read the other two chapters that dropped with this one, I do know from the dozens of posts flooding my feed online that the next batch is seemingly going to be the finale of the series. Which means that things we would want to see fully developed are going to be given this same kind of treatment, and we'll have to wait and see if the anime can help fill in what we're missing later on. But moving on from one disappointing moment to a slightly less one, we have Noelle finally reunited with Asta, and after a quick mono refuel, the two transform and head off to fight. Only for Noelle to decide to stay behind and fend off a couple of angels so that Asta can go on to fight the final boss, teasing us once again of a chance of the Light Triad as fans of Dubdom finally join together in the big climatic battle of a saga. And look, this hurts. And really, it only hurts so much because of who Noelle stayed behind to fight. Because had it been a Paladin, even a brand new one that we are being introduced to for the first time, I think I would have been fine with it. Because at least they have all proven to be real threats that require either team-ups or top-tier characters to take down, which Noelle is one of said top tiers. But the fact that it was angels is what makes it so hard to swallow, because I feel like even in their newly evolved monster forms, either one of these two could have easily mowed them down in a couple of seconds, let alone the two of them together, and then continued on towards Lucius. There was no reason to sideline Noelle here, besides teasing us of this three-way team-up. Now, that being said, hopefully before the fight is over, maybe we'll still see Noelle jump in. She could get a spotlight similar to Yami's in the battle against the Grid, where he wasn't an active participant in most of the battle, but shot out one big attack at a crucial moment that helped him get the win. Seriously, I'll take even that. Now, while we're on the subject of Noelle, it looks like she is using anti-magic with her new Valkyrie dress here, but we don't get any scene or indication that Asta gave her some in this chapter. And it had to be here in this moment because this is literally the first time these two have seen each other since Asta seemingly died in the beginning of the saga. So I'm not exactly sure how she got the anti-magic, but I will say that the added bits that indicate her using it add on an additional coolness to this already dope design. Oh, and one more cool thing I should mention before moving on to the thing I wanted to talk about the most from this chapter. We get this moment with Hino during the battle against Lucius where he only has a little bit of anti-magic left and decides to spend that last bit of it using one of Asta's key moves, Black Meteorite. It doesn't really do too much with it, only manages to land a small cut on Lucius, but it was such a cool way to end his solo battle against the fake Wizard King, and it was such a great way to pass off the sword back to Asta as he rejoined the battle. But anyway, moving on to the big part of this chapter for me, we jump over to Hino country and see that the Reason 7 are doing their best Spirit Guardian impressions and have been wiped out off screen, with Ryu being held up at the neck by a revived Paladin Heath, who is currently being controlled by Lucius. And look, Ryu versus Lucius was not on my bingo card for 2025, at least not in the physical sense, which I guess technically it still isn't since this is not actually Lucius, but Heath being controlled by the fake Wizard King, used as a proxy to wreak havoc on Asta's biggest support. Which, while Ryu and the Reason 7 didn't go to the Clover Kingdom with Asta, much to my and many fans' disappointment, he still has been one of Asta's biggest allies in this battle, helping guide our MC down the correct path in order to give him the best shot at winning this, both before the battle and during. Really, in a way, this entire Judgment Day war has been a standoff between Ryu and Lucius from the start, both manipulating things to achieve their desired goals, Lucius wanting to dominate the world and Ryu wanting to, well, stop him. And now that the two have finally had a chance to talk face to face, Lucius wants to know why Ryu has worked so hard to back Asta in all of this. Which I guess stopping Lucius from controlling all of humanity so that he can become the god of magic isn't a good enough reason. And you know, surprisingly enough, Ryu says it's because Asta is essentially his hero. After Ryu gave up all of his Yoryoku for the Tengetsu, despite his will to do so in order to help protect his country, he began to regret it a bit, mostly because he felt like he had given up not only on his own dreams, but let down both his best friends by doing so. And during his depression, while searching for Yami using his new sight, he found Asta, a magicless boy like him, who despite being born with such a disadvantage in this world, never let it hold him back. It's almost like Ryu was watching a TV show and Asta was his favorite character. All of his hard work and determination made Ryu want to root for him and see where he ends up. And eventually, after watching Asta for years, all of that hard work rubbed off on the Shogun and renewed his resolve to continue down the path he'd chosen. This reveal makes the whole training arc in Hino so much more meaningful, because we thought it was just Ryu placing his bet on the person he thought was best suited to save the world, but it was really him returning the favor to the person that saved him, and helping him win this battle was worth risking this moment here. It also helps that he had complete faith that his friends would be able to overcome any danger they faced, even if it took everything they had. And you know what? He was proven right as an injured Yosuga busts through the ground and slices Heath's head straight off. Which normally I'd say that's probably not going to work in the long run, since all the Paladins have healing abilities that rival the Gorosei over in One Piece. But given the fact that we have clearly jumped from jogging to a full-on sprint towards the finish line, I doubt we'll be returning to this fight in the remaining chapters. Which means we are now full speed ahead to the ending of this war, and I look forward to seeing what the next chapter has in store.